Catastrophic flooding has killed more than 80 people across Texas as rescues continue this morning in Kerr County. Thank you for joining us for our live streaming show on KHOU 11+. I'm Stephanie Simmons. And we start with breaking news just into our newsroom, where Camp Mystic has confirmed that at least 27 campers and counselors have died from their camp alone. The flooding started early on Friday morning. As of the last update, 68 are dead and at least 11 people are still missing in Kerr County, including 10 young girls from that Camp Mystic and one camp counselor in Hunt, Texas. This is located just an hour northwest of San Antonio, just off the Guadalupe River. It is a popular spot for summer camping, especially on the 4th of July weekend. Search and rescue crews are now going on more than 72 hours to find those who are still missing.
We continue 24/7 operations to search for anybody who was affected by that deadly storm.
Those babies. Those babies. If it was my babies, I'd want somebody looking, so that's why I'm here.
There's no higher priority for us than finding those children.
Meantime, rescuers are continuing to sweep every section of that river. And right now, our team coverage continues this morning. Our Kim Castro has been following this forecast from the very start. Devon Broming has more on how Houston is stepping up to help its neighbors. But first, we start with our Jacob Rascone and Amanda Henderson, who are both live for us in Kerr County this morning. Good morning to both of you. What are you seeing there right now?
Steph, good morning to you. We were live on the air on Friday when some of this was unfolding. We did not yet appreciate the scope of the devastation and what had been happening behind the scenes since early Friday morning. Amanda Henderson got here Friday afternoon. I just got here. The team coverage this morning to try to appreciate better just what is still happening, what has already happened. This headline already outdated, as you saw, because of the news just this morning from Camp Mystic. Amanda, we're just walking down here and seeing some of the debris up close for the first time.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, it's tragic that you have to mention that that headline is outdated. We don't want to see any more loss of life, and to hear that the 27 counselors and campers missing from Camp Mystic are all dead, it's hard because we've talked with those families. They trusted us to put up the photos, to try and, bring awareness of hopefully someone has seen their loved ones, and to know that they didn't find them alive is heartbreaking. And I think that perfectly ties into the fact that we don't know a lot of the answers that people want. They have a lot of questions, and rightfully so. They have a lot of questions about just what happened in those final moments, because the water wall that came through, it was so powerful, Jacob, that to your point about the debris, this is our first time on the ground in Louise Hayes Park. We had previously been on a platform. I'm looking up. I'm going to guesstimate that that's 30 feet in the air. I don't know if you guys can quite make it out, but there is a little bit of a fence up there. That's the same level of the platform that we were standing on. It's remarkable how much the water has gone down, but at the same time, how powerful the water still is. There are roof shingles, there's clothing, there's what appears to be just, I don't know if this is a tarp, I don't know if this is part of a home, but there's water everywhere, and that's...
I'm Jacob Rascone, live in Kerrville. Last week, 750 girls were having fun at Camp Mystic. This morning, just moments ago, the devastating update from Camp Mystic that 27 total, including counselors and girls, are confirmed dead, did not survive the devastating flooding. In a brief statement that they posted from Camp Mystic, once again, they say, "Our hearts are broken alongside families who are enduring this unimaginable tragedy. We're praying for them constantly." They go on to say they've been in communication with local and state authorities, tirelessly deploying extensive resources to search for those missing. They say they are deeply grateful for the outpouring of support from community, first responders, and officials at every level. For the first time, we're able to be live here right at the level of the Guadalupe. Behind me, you can see just how fast it's still moving after the historic flooding from Friday morning. You're seeing the bent trees, the broken trees, the debris off in the distance, including tarps and blankets, and we've seen clothing and roofs from tiles. There's a tank lodged there. Earlier on Friday, the river so ferocious that entire cabins and RVs and cars and homes were carried away. The number of dead officially is above 80. The next official update from investigators will come at 10 a.m. The number of rescued was up to 850 or so. And so, Steph, as we know that we'll be live here all morning long and continuing into tomorrow, we know that it's impossible really to describe the impact, which will be felt for years and years to come. Steph, over to you.
Yeah, Jacob, thank you for setting this scene for us. That river looks like it is still raging, even though you and I were talking before, it has receded quite a bit.
Yeah, in fact, it did about a day later by 20 feet, but it spiked in 45 minutes, 20 feet above flood stage. So just devastating. You know, this entire weekend has just been devastating. You and I both know when one mother grieves, we all grieve. And as these stories unfold, I have an 8-year-old son, you know, classmates will not return next year. These circles are, you want to say small, but very big in the Houston community.
And I just want to set the scene very quickly for those who maybe don't have children or don't know the situation. Houstonians send their children to these camps.
Oh yeah, sleepaway camps are very popular. It's exciting for families. It's exciting for the kids. You know, think Camp Mystic since, you know, the mid-20s, so since 1926, have been welcoming in girls. Camp La Junta, Waldemar. These are popular camps that have been around for so many years. So many generations have been a part of that, and they've loved it. They've had fabulous times. So this was an exciting time. I think right now is not only difficult for families who, of course, are in mourning, but there's a bunch of families who have survivor's guilt. I've talked to so many moms that have said, you know, my daughter spent a month in Bubblegum Cabin, which was the cabin that was swept away. Her daughter was in there for a month. And so then
they got out in time.
And they got out because she was in there for the entire month of June. So before the week started, this was a whole new set of campers that went in, you know, for July 1st.
These are people you know personally. Your son goes to school with
I know,
these children.
and it's hard because my son's 8 years old, and many of these girls were 8, and again, they connect so big. They're you know, daughters, but cousins, friends. You know, this is going to be hard to explain to children of that age why potentially a classmate will not be there. What, you know, understanding this doesn't happen at every camp, but this did happen, and understanding the threats and survival. I've talked to many moms with boys that, you know, want them to become Eagle Scouts. They want to build this survival instinct and kit that their kids have. You wouldn't have thought about this. I mean, this has changed everyone to see families. But these children that are 7, 8, and 9 years old, it's just the events that unfolded this weekend, it's gut-wrenching. It makes you sick when you really start thinking about what unfolded. You know, first from a weather perspective, but then you know, for all of these families who are just in grief and mourning, be it within their tight circle, or be it their extended family, or their friends, or their community. It's just so hard.
And those who have lost and those who have not gotten closure yet, we certainly think about them. And if you are one of those impacted, we do want to let people know therapy. There are resources. We've had things, devastating events happen very close to home here in Houston. And, you know, as the mother of a 9-year-old boy as well, I had to step away from reading the news because I found myself tearing up, because we do our very best as mothers, Cheetah, to provide our children with experiences.
I know. And it's so hard. All weekend, you know, it's like we are grieving. We are all grieving together. You have these waves where you can't stomach it. You can't. I mean, even I know with my 5-year-old daughter in 2 years, if she went to Camp Mystic with a group of her friends, we would have been so excited. We would have been elated that you know, she's going, what an experience she's going to have for the week, for 2. Some families send for a month, and never do you think that in the middle of the night you're going to start receiving texts that which campers are accounted for. You don't think of that. And you know, these camps often do promote too. You know, they don't have kids bring an iPhone or an Apple Watch or any devices, so they can't use devices, which that's the idea, to be in nature. And
none of that would have helped if they're in their little beds, sleep in their little bunk beds. When you see those pictures, there were many wonderful stories of survivors as well. And that is, if there's any good news, some families are holding their children tighter.
That's true.
And we certainly feel for those families who did not get that. We do have everything you need to know about this situation. It is very emotional to, you know, try to remain composed as we have children of that age.
I'm Jacob Rascone, live in Kerrville, where day 5 of the search for the missing continues. And that, of course, includes the 10 campers and counselor who are missing from Camp Mystic. That camp here, so beloved by people throughout Texas and beyond, including many in Houston who would send their girls right here. 750 campers here when this all happened. And this camp is nearly a century old, so beloved, again, throughout the state and beyond. The 10 campers and the counselor who are still missing are top of mind for the hundreds of searchers who are about to hold their morning briefing just in minutes from now at 4 staging areas throughout the county. And they will take all of their boats and their ATVs and their dogs and their horses and their volunteers, and they will map out the zones of searching. We're also learning more about the camp itself for those who are not familiar, about just how beloved it is and why that is. Take a listen.
It's fresh like spring. We want to pass it on. Reach for you, my friend. This happiness that I found. Can't depend on it. It matters not where you're bound. I'll shout it from the mountain tops. Praise God. I want my world to know the Lord of love has come to me. I want to pass it on. I'll shout it from the mountain tops. Praise God. I want my world to know the Lord of love has come to me. I want to pass it on.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving.
Wow, that is incredible. So that video of them as they were evacuating, as you know, the flooding really started at 4 a.m. And so they were aware, of course, of the water rising. We've heard stories of them being evacuated, including that Coast Guard swimmer who personally made sure that 165 or so of the campers made it out. It is, of course, astonishing and amazing that the overwhelming majority of the 750 campers did make it out, like those who you saw on the bus. But devastatingly, for all of the parents and all of the loved ones, and when you allow yourself to think about it, any parent out there who's ever sent their kid to a camp, 27 of the campers and counselor, of course, as we know, did not survive, did not make it out. The Guadalupe behind me is as low as it's been since Friday. This was up 7-8 feet even last night when we were here live for our newscast at 6 o'clock. And it still is moving. It's not moving as much as yesterday, which is great news. But the fact that it lowers so dramatically and the fact that it is still moving means that the search and rescuers, they have to go zone by zone again and again. They have the helicopters that we've seen overhead, they have drones, they have dogs, they have ATVs. Texas EquiSearch was focusing on an area right here yesterday. It really is, on the one hand, it's beautiful to know that all of those campers who did make it out, made it out. It's of course devastating to know that there are still those who have not been found and dozens of others, even beyond Kerrville, who are still missing. Again, this is day 5 of the search, and we'll be here throughout the day and tomorrow morning talking about this. Steph?
Yeah, and our Jacob Rascone has been in Kerr County. He's there right now. He's been there for the last few days. Jacob, you've seen flooding before, and what are things looking like and feeling like there right now?
There is a significant difference, Devon and Steph, between yesterday and today in terms of the level of the river. I think Cheetah said this earlier, too, that in fact, as we see it, 7 to 8 feet lower today, even than yesterday at 6 p.m., and the mapping is showing that. And it's hard to believe that at the peak, that all of this was well above my head, 20 feet above, and that's why all of these businesses alongside the river are destroyed. We spoke to one of these business owners who described how for decades they would watch after flooding, and flash flooding is not that uncommon here, but never, not even in the most serious floods, not even back in 1987 when there was a deadly serious flash flooding here, did the water reach up to the businesses. But now, after these floods, they're going to have to rebuild from scratch.
Watch out!
Lamps and shades along the Guadalupe River provided for the Russell family for 30 years.
You can't process because it's too much to process. There's too many things going on.
Which makes these neighbors lifesavers.
There's no words. I didn't even ask them to help. They're just helping me. It's the way it is. They're just doing it.
Carol Griffin says business owners along the river haven't worried about flooding like this for decades.
No, we had flooding, but it never even got to here. No.
It hasn't been anywhere near this bad since 1978. Stacy Robinson knows. She was here camping. What do you remember about that flood?
I remember the flood looking like an ocean. It was crazy. You'd see cars going by. It was nuts. Wow. It was nuts. I've never seen anything like it.
How old were you at the time?
14.
This is Stacy's second home. Second to Houston.
Extracting water, cleaning up mud, power washing, moving inventory, whatever we can do to help.
And why are you doing that?
Because that's what we're supposed to do as a human being.
You have to cheer on and stand behind and support the ones that survived.
It's encouraging to meet people like Stacy from Houston, but also who live here and who are helping out with the businesses. That is the business here, Lamps and Shades, behind me. The water was several feet up, I think even like 6 feet up into that business. Now, you heard her describe when she was here at a camp back in 1978. So there have been 3 in the past 50 years, 3 mass flash flooding events. 1978, when 3 to 4 feet of rain fell and 33 people died. And then 1987, when a couple of feet of rain fell and 10 campers died. And then this event on July 4th, where about 20 inches of rain fell, so less than the other 2 incidents, but which was far more deadly than any of the others. Okay, we're going to talk to Devon Roming. Devon, all morning long, you've been talking about the conversation that a lot of people are having here about how it would have been possible maybe to be more prepared. You're talking about weather radio. I'm Jacob Rascone, live in Kerrville, day 5 of the search for the missing. And I wanted to point out one reason why there aren't more people missing. Look at these RVs. That was an RV smashed into the tree. This one over here, also an RV. Yesterday, I talked to the people who were in there who said that the fire department banged on their door early on July 4th morning. And they got out just in time because those RVs were actually over there at that RV park. And the river rose 2 stories, carried those RVs, slammed them into there. They would have been dead, they said, were it not for the first responders. Amanda Henderson's joining us live this morning. And Amanda, you've made it over to Hunt, just over the bridge from where I am.
It is, Jacob, I've covered an EF3 tornado. This is worse. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, that's the Hunt store right there. Back here, that's the Hunt store, and it's completely demolished. I know our Matt Doherty has been out here talking with the owner, and they say they're going to rebuild, but just to see it in person, it's truly sobering. I think also on the drive over here and just now kind of like looking around, you realize like our car would have been underwater here, and it's hard to really put into words all of this damage. It's going to take a long time to rebuild out here. But there's so many first responders and the absolute just, community-based response. They have so many people who are here to help. They have so many people who are going to be here for a long time to help. But I mean, even just looking this way, brick after brick after brick in that pile, I don't even know what was on this foundation right here, but it is gone. It is gone. It is gone. Glass on the ground.
Now let's get back out to Jacob live for us this morning in Kerr County. And Jacob, you met up with some of the crews who are part of the search efforts.
Yeah, we've met a lot of them, and this is true on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, but we really got a different look when we went on this ride along with the chief of the Ingram Fire Department just on top of the hill. She's been here for 50 years. So she was there responding as a teenager to the 1978 flooding and then the 1987 flooding. And then now she is, of course, in charge. So the area, Kerr County, just the whole search area is separated into 4 main fire departments, and each of them have hundreds of first responders and volunteers that they coordinate. Here, yesterday, they had 700, and they are so thankful for donations like these. Truckloads of water bottles. Also, beyond this, there are Gatorade and other drinks. They've got snacks. People have donated tons of fuel and food for the horses. It really has been impressive, and as the chief tells me, it's part of what moves her to keep going, seeing the outpouring of support from the volunteers and others who are just donating. So here's a look at some of what we saw yesterday with the chief and one of her relentless volunteers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, you bet. Thank you all.
Scores of new searchers sign up every day.
And we're working both ways.
The Ingram Fire Department and 700 helpers cover 70 square miles.
Doing everything they absolutely can to bring the missing family members home.
The massive operation led by Chief Diana Backus.
I worked the Comfort flood in 1987.
In 5 decades on the job, this is the worst thing Chief Diana's ever seen.
I saw RVs being slammed up against trees and literally exploding. I saw children floating in the water begging for help that we could not reach. And that takes it out of you.
Are you okay?
I can't say I'm okay, but I'm going to do my job. This was underwater and there was a car floating.
Retired firefighter Tammy Landon, one of countless tireless volunteers.
At the time, you deal with it. Later on, it's going to hit everybody. I was born and raised here. Pretty bad.
It is organized chaos with growing, impressive resources, including the helicopters like these. We've also seen boats, ATVs, dogs, horses, and other equipment. When I told the chief and I told other fire officials here and volunteers about the press conference with the governor about the 161 people still missing, which they had not heard because they were busy working, a couple of them started to weep, knowing that that is their effort. This is what they're here for. They know, and they've told me the somber reality is they haven't found anyone alive since the day of the flood. But they have found many of the bodies. They find them every day, and they know the closure that they're helping to bring to the families who are missing the loved ones. I know that this is really heavy to talk about and to think about, but when we were inside of this command center, they had pictures, more than 100 of them, laying on the ground from campsites and from RVs and others. They know that this is grueling mentally and physically and beyond words, but they know that they have to keep going. They can't stop searching. And now knowing that there are so many more people still missing, they know that they're going to be here for weeks doing the same thing day after day. Steph and Ugochi, back to you. Did the news from the governor's press conference yesterday come, what is the impact of realizing that there are dozens and dozens of additional people apparently unaccounted for here?
I'm not obligated or privileged to say that right now.
Yeah.
That's between higher up, the chief,
right,
and everything. We get the information, it goes to powers above us.
Absolutely.
So, and we don't.
So we need to stop the interview.
Chief is aware of him. He's going in, and I didn't know where you were at, and because he's been assigned to the chief. So Chief said this crew right here.
Yeah, they're you're okay. Thank you. They're understandably very protective, as they need to be, because we're live on the air. So I'm going to explain, because they sometimes have reporters come in and go places where they shouldn't be. Yeah. And without asking permission. And so the chief has given us some permission to be here. Okay, just one final question. What is it that happens every morning here? We see a lot of them gathered.
Every morning we have a briefing of job task units together, where they're going to be working at. We talk about safety is our priority, of everybody's safety out here. We have our Lord's Prayer, and then all the crews disperse out, get together, and work together as a team.
Awesome. Your name again, sir?
I'm Rod Tarr.
Rod Tarr, thank you very much for your time, and God bless you. And Steph and Ugochi, back over to you.
All right, Jacob, and that's a great point that happened live. You did the right thing asking permission to get that interview. And as I was looking at the map, you've moved since from Kerrville to Ingram, looking at the locations of the two. And on the maps, we're seeing that there's a lot of red everywhere, indicating that there could be some street closures in the area. Is that still the case?
It is. In fact, here, I'll turn around here. Actually, let's go this way, Scott, if you don't mind. So this is one of the main roads that is closed. You'll see the line of cars here. They only allow first responders and residents now down this road. So this is the end of Ingram. If you keep going, you eventually get to Camp Mystic. They've initially, I think I said this earlier, everything was pretty open and reporters and photographers were kind of all over the place, but they shut it down because of the sensitive nature of the search. I mean, every day the volunteers here and the first responders are finding new bodies. That's what they're here to do, and that's what they're doing. We don't get up close. If that ever is happening, we know that that's not something that we're trying to film. We just want to see the searchers. So it's more carefully guarded with lots of closed roads in this area, and for good reason, Steph.
Yeah, we are humans first before we are journalists, and if ever our cameras were to see something, we would turn away immediately. That person body found is someone's son or daughter.
Right, of course, and you have to handle these situations with care. And Jacob, I got to give credit to you when that happened live on air, with him asking, are you allowed to be here? And you clarified the chief gave you permission to be there. You handled it with compassion and empathy. I do want to ask you, though, in terms of them being very protective of where journalists and other people are and where they can't be, what do you think exactly is motivating that? What are you seeing on the ground in reference to that?
Yeah, one of the things that the chief said yesterday, and that she was really frustrated about, and everybody has all the space that they need to be frustrated here, and she is talking on the phone with different first responders at roadblocks, saying the people who are coming in just to look from out of town, who are just interested and curious, said, get them out of here. They're getting in the way, because they have, you see this big line. Some of the people here will be turned around because they'll determine up there that you don't really need to be here. We need the space for the equipment to come in. They've got big, large equipment pieces coming in every day, the gas that comes in, the donations that come in. And then when they're out and about searching along the riverbank, they don't want even people who are from here just looking around unless they are part of the search effort. So in our story from last night and that we re-aired this morning, we showed how inside of this fire department, we can turn around again so you can see how they're all gathered outside of here after their briefing. They have sign-ups. So if you are serious about helping, you show up here, you give your name, they make sure you got good boots, and then you've got, you know, something to cover your head, and you've got a way to communicate with them, and they put you on a team. So they don't just want anybody to come out here to look or even to come look and help unless they are signing up with them and becoming part of their team, because everyone else just gets in the way.
Such a good explainer.